Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, Miss Rangga. Today I would like to present my advanced listening project 2. Let me introduce myself. My name is Zainida Fikriyahsniar with name 33210046 from class 33.4a.07. Without even further ado, let's get started. Part 1. Answer this question. Number 1. Describe the condition of homeless in the USA. The answer is, in just the United States alone, over 500,000 people are homeless, with about a third of those being children. About 1 in 5 people suffer from a mental health issue. About half of women who are homeless have been the victims of domestic abuse. And around a quarter of the homeless are employed. But unfortunately, the cost of living for many people is just beyond their means and current income. Number 2, what is the fate of the women who are homeless? About half of women who are homeless have been the victim of domestic abuse. Number 3, based on the audio, how the person has a real compassion for others. The answer is, they trying to set aside any prejudice and preconceived feeling about his intentions. He and his wife invited the homeless man to have a dinner with them. The homeless man shared his hopes and dreams with him and his wife. And when their meals over, the married couple expressed well wishes to the homeless man. Number 4, mention and explain the fact of homeless. The answer is, some reasons for homeless can include loss of employment, a traumatic event such as natural disaster that damages and destroys a family's home, and substance abuse. But the fact many homeless faces the stark reality of living without food and shelter for long periods of time. Number 5, retell that audio using your own words. Homeless is a problem that we encounter almost everywhere around the world. Unfortunately, as humans, we often have two simplistic reasons why people live on the streets or in homeless shelters, and these perceptions often limit our ability to have real compassion for others. Some reasons for homeless can include loss of employment, a traumatic event such as a natural disaster that damages and destroys a family's home, and substance abuse. But the fact many homeless faces the stark reality of living without food and shelter for long periods of time. In United States alone, over 500,000 people are homeless, with about a third of those being children. About 1 in 5 people suffer from mental health issue. About half of women who are homeless have been the victim of domestic abuse. Around a quarter of the homeless are employed. But unfortunately, the cost of living for many people is just beyond their means and current income. Part 2. Answer this question. Number 1. What is the main problem of the story? The answer is, Goldilocks sneaked into the bear's house and ate their porridge and slept on the three bears' bed. Number 2. Describe the characteristic of the bears. The answer is, one of them was a little small wee bear, one was a middle-sized bear, and the other was a great huge bear. Number 3. Why do the bears feel angry with the girl? The answer is, because the girl ate their porridge and has been lying down in their bed. Number 4. Why does the girl call Goldilocks? The answer is, because this little girl had golden curls that tumbled down her back to her waist. Number 5. Create the note. There were three bears who lived together in a house of their own in the wood. One of them was a little small wee bear, and one was a middle-sized bear, and the other was a great huge bear. One day, after they had made a porridge, For their breakfast, they walked out into the wood while the porridge was cooling, and suddenly a little girl came into their house. That girl had golden curls that tumbled down her back to her waist. Everyone called her Goldilocks. Goldilocks went inside. She tasted all of the porridge that the bears made. After she ate the porridge, she went upstairs into the bedchamber. Goldilocks lay down on the bed of the three bears. She fell comfortably. Suddenly she fell fast asleep. The three bears back to their home because they thought their porridge would be cool enough. And then the great huge bear said in his great gruff voice that somebody has been at my porridge. And the middle bear also shouts in his middle voice that somebody has been at his porridge too. And also the little small wee bear said in his small wee voice that her porridge also had been eaten by somebody too. So they went upstairs into their bedroom, and with a great gruff voice, the huge bear said again that somebody has been lying down in his bed. Little bear with his middle voice and also little small bear with his little small voice said that someone has been lying down in their bed. And the little small wee bear found out that there is a little girl with an angelic face and golden curls fall asleep upon the bed. By that time, Goldilocks jumped off from the bed and ran downstairs out through the door and along the garden path. Goldilocks ran away until she reaches the grandma's house, and she told the granny all about the house where the three bears live in the wood. But the granny doesn't believe it and thinks that the Goldilocks have a wild imagination. Part 3. Make a note. There once lived a poor tailor who had a son called Aladdin, a careless idle boy who would do nothing but play ball all day long in the street while little idle boys like himself. One day, when he was playing in the streets as usual, a stranger approaches him claiming to be his uncle. The next day, the magician led Aladdin into some beautiful gardens a long way outside the city gates. They then journeyed onward till they almost reached the mountains. Aladdin was so tired that he begged to go back, but the magician beguiled him with pleasant stories and led him on spite of himself. At last, they came to a mountain divided by a narrow valley. The magician told Aladdin that there was treasure in the cave. Then the magician told Aladdin to enter the cave while catching the rain and obeying the magician's orders, which said that Aladdin was prohibited from attacking anything in the cave or he would die instantly. Aladdin began to enter the cave and looked for an open door leading into three large halls. These halls led into a garden of fine fruit trees. Aladdin was asked to keep walking until he came to a niche in a terrace where stands a light-up lamp. Aladdin found everything as the magician had said. After getting the lights and arriving at the mouth of the cave, the magician shouted that Aladdin had to hand over the lamp to him, but it was refused by Aladdin. The magician flew into the terrible passion, so he threw some more powder onto the fire and cast a spell so that the stone in the cave rolled back into its place. The magician left Persia forever, which plainly showed that he was not Aladdin's uncle, but a cunning magician. For 2 days Aladdin remained in the dark, crying and lamenting at last. He clasped his hands in prayer, and in so doing rubbed the ring, which the magician had forgotten to take from him. Immediately an enormous and frightful genie appears. The genie asks what he can do for Aladdin. And then Aladdin says he wants to go home, so that the genie grants Aladdin wishes. Aladdin takes the lamp home with him. and tells his mother about what happened and showed her the lamp. When cleaning the lamp, the mother rubs it and another genie appears. Aladdin and his mother ask for some food to genie, and their wish is granted. For several years, they both thrived thanks to genie help. One day, Aladdin told that the Sultan had a very beautiful daughter. Aladdin really wanted to see the princess' face, but it was very difficult because the princess always covered herself with a veil. One day, Aladdin peeked behind the door, and for the first time, Aladdin saw the princess. She was beautiful that Aladdin fell in love at the first sight. Aladdin went home to tell his mother that he was determined to propose to the princess. Aladdin's mother went to the palace with sparkling and shining jewelry before the Sultan, and sure enough, the Sultan was fascinated by the gift brought by Aladdin's mother. However, the wazir, the Sultan's main advisor, is not happy with Aladdin and his mother's intentions because he had also planned to marry his son to the princess. Then the Sultan gave the vizier's son 3 months to bring a better gift than what Aladdin had brought before. If he could do so, then the Sultan would let the vizier's son marry his daughter. Aladdin waited patiently for almost 3 months, but before the 3 months have elapsed, Aladdin's mother learns that the vizier's son has married the Sultan's daughter, and Aladdin assumed that the Sultan has gone back on his promise. He is determined to prevent the marriage from being consummated and sends the genie to throw the bridegroom in the toilet and transport the Sultan's daughter and her bridal bed to Aladdin's home. He lies with the bride, guarding her all night, while the princess lies there, understandably terrified. After 3 months passed, Aladdin's mother reminds the Sultan of his promise and allows him to marry his daughter, but only after he produced a dowry of 40 platters of gold. With the help of the genie, Aladdin managed to produce the gift, sending his mother to the Sultan's palace with the platters. The Sultan demands to meet the man who will become his son-in-law. Meanwhile, using his magic and divination, the magician learns that Aladdin survived in the cave and kept the magic lamp, which he used to become wealthy and marry the princess. When Aladdin is away hunting, he travels to the pavilion disguised as a merchant. The Sultan's daughter sees the old magic lamp and orders her servant to give it to the magician. The magician summons the genie of the lamp and orders him to transport the pavilion and the princess to his home in Africa. When Aladdin returns home and discovers his pavilion has gone, he is shocked by the Sultan's decision to cut off his head, but is popular with the people of the city, acceds to his request for a stay of execution. Aladdin sets off, unsure of how he will ever recover the pavilion and his wife. When he rubs the magic ring he still wears, the genie of the ring appears. The genie is unable to override the genie of the lamp and cannot restore the pavilion, but agrees to transport Aladdin to the palace where the pavilion now stands. Aladdin and the princess hatch a plan to use a drug to knock the magician unconscious. Aladdin then appears disguised as a servant and kills the magician. He then recovers the lamp from the magician's body and demands that the pavilion had returned to its original location in China. The Sultan is overjoyed when he sees his daughter safe and well, and when Aladdin explains about the evil magician, the Sultan and Aladdin are become best friends again. However, even though the magician is dead, he has a brother who is even more evil and intends to exact revenge on Aladdin. The magician disguises himself as Fatima, a holy woman, to gain the trust of the princess. The genie also tells Aladdin that he has been tricked by a magician, and Aladdin kills the magician having pretended to have a headache and claim that he needs the holy woman's healing hands on him. After this, Aladdin and his wife lived peacefully. He replaced the Sultan when he died and reigned for many years. That's all from me. Thank you for your attention. Sorry if there is many mistake. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye bye.